Hello and welcome back to 10 Minutes USA. Today, tips and tricks. Oh, I'm Chuck, in case you didn't know. But today, tips and tricks to if you're going to buy a used car from a professional mechanic. Well, I'm retired now, but worked on cars my whole life. Still work on them, my own and friends. Alright, first tip, very important. If you don't know much about cars, or you're a woman and you're looking for a decent used car for transportation, first tip, bring a mechanic with you, a trained mechanic, if you can. If you can't, well, here's a few things you can do to make sure you're not getting screwed and give you some ammunition to negotiate a better price. First thing, look at the car, walk around it, see what kind of condition it's in. And all this is basically just using your eyes, your nose, and maybe your hands a little bit. But look at the car, look at the tires, look at the interior. Nothing's broken, no headlights, taillights are broken, or look at the condition of the tires. They're halfway decent. I mean, they don't have to be brand new, but you don't want bald tires, then you got to go buy tires right away. Also, get down if you can and look under the car. That's very important. And look for signs of oil leakage from the engine, the transaxle, the transmission, and the rear end. If it's a front engine car, rear wheel drive, look at the rear end. The rear end, if it's leaking, if it's seeping oil, will tell you a lot about a car that it's got a lot of miles or it's been driven hard. Because under normal use, they don't leak. But under extreme use, extreme conditions, and a lot of miles, I'm talking hundreds of thousands of miles, they'll start seeping. So look at that. If you can, most cars today have wheels where you can see through to the disc. Of course, if it has drums on the back, you can't see past the drums, but most cars now have four-wheel disc. And see if you can see the pads. And this is without taking it apart. Just bring a little flashlight with you and look and see if the pads still have some meat left on them. They're not worn out. It's not metal to metal. Well, you'll know that if you test drive the car. And then ask the guy, if this is a private sale, hey, can we take it around the block? I want to drive it. Most people say, yeah, sure. They'll go with you.
Car's got a lot of pickup. It's got a cop motor, a 440 cubic inch plant. It's got cop tires, cop suspension, cop shocks. There's a model made before catalytic converters, so it'll run good on regular gas. What do you say? Is it the new Bluesmobile or what? Fix a cigarette lighter.
Get in the car and drive it and listen for any odd noises and see how the steering feels, any vibrations. Get on a road where you can accelerate kind of hard and see how it accelerates and decelerates, and maybe hit the throttle quick on and off and see if you hear any thuds or noises, like a broken transmission mount could be shifting around, a broken engine mount, front wheel or rear wheel drive, the engine will start shifting around and thud, and you'll feel it in the car. Check the brakes, do a kind of a quick stop, make sure nobody's behind you. If you can, get into a big parking lot that's empty, and that's the best way to test the car. Then you can accelerate, decelerate quick, you can brake hard. You can, as long as the owner says it's okay, and corner lock to lock, left and right, and listen for any odd noises, especially with front wheel drive. If you're say a sharp left or right, and you accelerate and you hear a clicking or a clanking sound, most likely it's got a bad CV joint. That's a dead giveaway. If it passes all this and the car sounds pretty good and it accelerates good and it stops good and no vibrations, no crazy noises, no smells, you don't see any smoke out the back, you don't smell oil in the car like burnt oil, you don't smell gasoline, hopefully you don't, with no gas leaks, go back to the house and say, hey, I want to look under the hood, open the hood. First thing you do is pull the dipstick, and this is with the engine off, and look to make sure it's full of oil. If it's not showing oil on the dipstick, for me, I'd walk away right there. That means the thing has been abused probably its whole life if it's not got oil in it. The other thing you really got to look for is when you pull it, the oil looks relatively clean, it's full, and it's not milky color. If it's milky color, put it back in, say thank you for your time, and leave, because it's either got a blown head gasket or another gasket. So usually it's a head gasket and it's leaking coolant into the oil, and you don't want to deal with it. The only time you would want to deal with something like that is if it's a rare collectible type of car that you're going to repair, restore, whatever, and you can get it for a cheap price. But for a regular everyday driver, transportation, no, just walk away. It's you don't want it. And if it passes all that and it looks pretty good, then you can go and start checking. The lights all work, tail lights, headlights, brake lights, turn signals. The heater works, the blower works. If it has air conditioning, the air works. Any power items in the car, power seats work. Power window. Most cars have power windows now. Door locks work. Trying to think what else. This is just to see that you're getting a sound car. But mainly, the big thing for me is I have to look under a vehicle. I can tell pretty much how the car's been treated or the truck's been treated just by looking underneath it. Because a lot of times, especially at used car dealers, they power wash the engine bay, and it looks all shiny and clean and everything, and that's fine. But if it's got oil leaks, you're not going to see them. But if you get under the car, they don't wash under the car; they just wash the top. You get under the car, and it has oil leaks, you're going to see signs of oil. It's going to be wet on the floorboards, or the oil blows back. The drive shaft will be wet. Transmission, whatever, the rear end, you'll see telltale signs that it's an oil leaker, and see if you can pinpoint where it's coming from. You can't go by what's under, because like I said, a lot of even individual owners sometimes they'll detail under the hood, make it look good when they're selling the car, when it might have a lot of oil leaks and other problems. Also look at the wire harness, make sure it hasn't been jerry-rigged and stuff's been added. And don't, if the person that owns it or the dealer is, they're trying to point out other things like, oh, look at this fancy radio and it's got this and fancy speakers, don't pay any attention to that. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. That means they're trying to hide something. They don't want you to look at the mechanics, the machinery itself. They want you to look at all the little, glittery whiz-bang things that doesn't matter when you're looking for good solid transportation for cheap money. But the best word of advice I can give you is find a mechanic. Most people have at least one friend that is a decent mechanic, or there's guys you can hire that will go and inspect a car and give you their best opinion of the vehicle, especially if you're spending pretty good money on a car. I would, if you had to, hire somebody. There's guys that do that. I thought about doing it for a side business myself. There's a demand for it, especially for women, single women. They don't know anything. Most of them don't know anything about cars. They just look at it. Oh yeah, it looks good, and and they get screwed. But that's my best advice for looking for a decent car or truck for transportation is bring a mechanic, and if you can't, do the things I said. Just use your eyes mainly. You're just looking for any signs of, heavy use, oil leakage, noises, things wore out, especially on front wheel drive, the CV joints. That's a big one. But anyway, just my 2 cents on trying to help people out so they can save some money and have a little ammunition when they go to negotiate. Because when you point out all these things you find on the car that are wrong, the owners, they know they're there. Well, they'll start you can get a better deal on it if it's things you can fix easily yourself, or somebody can fix them for not too much money. But anyway, see you in the next one.